Hey guys, welcome back to another Tier List Tuesday. I'm the Goldman, and today we are doing the movies and shows of the Star Wars franchise. As you can see, we have every single movie. It doesn't have the Clone Wars movie, which I'm glad, because I probably would just put that in F tier. So we got all the movies, we got all the animated shows, and the 2 live-action shows of The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett. I guess with the shows, it has all the seasons collectively together as one. So that's how this is going to work. Anyway, I don't need to waste your time, let's begin. By the way, I can say this right off the bat, I don't think anything's gonna go in F tier. For me, F tier is like really bad, like no redeeming qualities. All of these have redeeming qualities in them, so nothing's gonna be in F tier. I can just say that confidently. The Phantom Menace. If you're a fan of the prequels, this list may trigger you. I am not a fan of the Phantom Menace or really Attack of the Clones. I think they're both very poor films. They just don't really work as standalone films. They do a great job introducing lore into the Star Wars universe. I can enjoy watching any Star Wars film, but if I'm just looking at these as standalone films, not taking into account my appreciation for the wider franchise, Phantom Menace is going to go in D tier. I just think it's a pretty abysmal film. I don't think the character work is good with really any of them besides maybe Palpatine and Anakin. Not a fan. Next, we got Attack of the Clones. I do like Attack of the Clones better than the Phantom Menace, but it's still gonna go in D tier. You know what I'm gonna do? No, never mind. Just for me, the characters don't work. The relationship between Anakin and Padme falls flat. The plot isn't really interesting to me. It's all that. I'm not gonna try and rehash what everyone has said constantly for pretty much all of time, right? I don't like it. I pretty much for the same reasons why. Next, we got the Clone Wars. Now, the Clone Wars for me is actually quite a mixed bag because there are some arcs in the Clone Wars that I absolutely love, man. I love a lot of the Clone Wars. And then there's a lot of the Clone Wars that I just don't really care about, if that makes sense. But the way I like to analyze movies, per se, is that I would always prefer a story or a series that has a mixture of highs and lows than something that is constantly mediocre. And Clone Wars has a lot of highs and a fair amount of lows, not many lows, but because those highs are so high, Clone Wars belongs in A for me. I love the Clone Wars. I think the last 4 episodes of Siege of Mandalore are probably some of the best Star Wars that exists out there. If the Siege of Mandalore was a movie, it would be an S tier, but it's the Clone Wars as a whole belongs in A tier. Next, we got Revenge of the Sith. Revenge of the Sith is a very entertaining movie. I like it way more than the other 2. It's definitely a very watchable film. I wouldn't say it's like great. I know a lot of Star Wars fans now say, oh, the Revenge of the Sith is a genuinely great movie. It's a great Star Wars movie. I'm not there yet. I'd say it's a good Star Wars movie. I enjoy a lot of it, but it still suffers with a lot of the same problems that the other 2 prequels have. So for me, I'm going to put Revenge of the Sith in B tier. A lot to love about Revenge of the Sith. Not really great, but pretty good. Up next, we got The Bad Batch. The Bad Batch, I'm just not a fan. As of the time of making this video, there's only been 1 season. There were certain aspects of the first season that I liked, but overall it just seemed like a waste. They didn't really do much with any of the characters besides Hunter, Omega, and Crosshair. The rest of the characters are pretty much of a waste. This is a series of a season I just didn't really need, I didn't really care for. I'm going to put in C tier. It wasn't abysmal. Like, I don't think it's the worst thing ever, but I definitely don't like it. Next, we got Solo. I think Solo is somewhat underrated, and I think a lot of Star Wars fans, as time progresses, are starting to notice that, because yeah, it's kind of a silly Han Solo movie, but just as a standalone Star Wars movie set in a different corner of the galaxy that doesn't really have anything to do with the Force, it's a lot of fun. It's just a fun movie. I think that's a good way to put it. It's not gonna change your world view about anything. It's not gonna make you super emotional, but it's just a fun movie. It's a good time. I'm gonna put it in B tier. I'd say I like Revenge of the Sith more than Solo, but Solo is just an overall fun movie. By the way, guys, I'm gonna do this. As you see, I just moved Attack of the Clones to the left. For me, like, the more left something is on the tier, that means it's kind of ranked higher. So I have Attack of the Clones ranked higher than Phantom Menace, and then I have Revenge of the Sith ranked higher than Solo. Alright, next we got Star Wars Rebels. Star Wars Rebels is criminally underrated. Criminally underrated. Some of the best Star Wars out there. Yeah, there's a lot of it that is kind of cheesy. It's a little too kiddie for me at times, especially the first season. But the highs of Rebels, to me, reach the highs of the Clone Wars, and the lows aren't as low as the Clone Wars. Now, it still has a decent amount of lows, so because of that, it doesn't belong in S tier. I'm going to put it in A tier, but I'm going to put it above Clone Wars. I know that's a hot take nowadays. It's just like, the Clone Wars is like godsend, but I love Rebels, and I really like Clone Wars, so for me, Rebels is higher than the Clone Wars. Up next, we got Rogue One. Of a lot of Star Wars fans that don't like the Disney era of Star Wars, they like Rogue One the most. I guess since I like a lot of what Disney's done, I'm the complete opposite of that. I'm not a big Rogue One fan. To me, the characters are all flat. The action's great, but what I look for in storytelling are the characters and their journey, and then the action enhances that. So if the action is just great and the characters are mediocre, I'm not really gonna care. And because of that, I'm gonna put Rogue One in C tier. I'll put it above Bad Batch because it's at least far more entertaining, but I'm not a big Rogue One fan. Up next, we got A New Hope. Probably one of the greatest movies ever. Perfect movie, pretty much. I love it. It's not one I love as much as you would see in the rest going forward, but for me, it's just the perfect movie. I can put it on any time, pretty much watch and enjoy it. It set the foundation of what Star Wars is, and this movie means so much to me, so S tier. Then we got Empire Strikes Back, probably one of my top 2 favorite movies of all time. WALL-E's my favorite movie of all time, by the way. Empire Strikes Back's just, it's a borderline perfect movie. Probably one of the best sequels ever made, if that makes sense. I just don't really have anything bad to say about Empire Strikes Back. It's a perfect movie, right? Up next, we got Return of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi is a lot like the Clone Wars for me, where it probably has the highest highs in the entire saga for me. I think Vader's redemption and his inevitable death are the best scenes in the entire franchise, but the Ewok stuff isn't the greatest. The opening battle on Jabba's sail barge is okay. It's not awful, but it's not amazing. And because of that, I'm gonna put Return of the Jedi in A tier, but I'm gonna put it in front of Clone Wars, but in front of Clone Wars, but behind Rebels. I love Return of the Jedi, but I don't love every single second of it. Up next, we got The Mandalorian. Oh, this is tough, man. The Mandalorian, I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot here recently with these more OT era movies. You'll see I love a lot of the OT. The Mandalorian is just, it does great character work. It does a great job world building. It does a great job kind of connecting the previous animated shows and introducing them to live action. For me, it belongs in the best of 8. I'm going to put Rebels ahead of it. Rebels and Mandalorian are very close. Oops, sorry. Just for me, I guess I need to see the Mandalorian conclusion before I can potentially put it ahead of Rebels, because I love the ending of Rebels. The ending of Rebels is one of my favorite things in Star Wars. So if the Mandalorian has an ending to its series that is as good as the ending of Rebels, I think it can go higher, but until then, it belongs behind Rebels, but still in A tier. Up next, we got, the Book of Boba Fett. I'm not a Boba Fett fan, and this show was a major disappointment, even for me, someone who had no expectations or love for Boba Fett. This show was still a huge disappointment. I have very few positive things to say about it. The world building was good. I thought the character work was awful. I think it derailed The Mandalorian as a series, and it's baffling how, I'm gonna put it in D. I think it's my least favorite project in Star Wars. Actually, no, you'll see in a sec. But I have almost nothing positive to say about it, and if anything, I think its existence hurt the franchise more than if it just didn't exist, because of what it did to The Mandalorian Season 2, and how it took away from The Mandalorian Season 2 finale. So yeah, for me, it's in D tier. Up next, we got Star Wars Resistance. This is probably the one thing on this list that most of you haven't seen, and it's because it's a boring show. The character work is okay. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna put it ahead of Boba Fett. That might be a hot take. Not ahead of the Phantom Menace, though. The character work is okay, but I would say of the whole series, this is like 2 seasons, 20 episodes each. The whole series has maybe 4 or 5 good episodes. That's not a good ratio at all. So I don't think I'll ever watch it again. Maybe one day if I'm just dangerously bored, but D tier. All right, this is the part of the video where I get a bunch of dislikes. Up next, we got The Force Awakens. Whee! I love The Force Awakens, man. I think The Force Awakens might be the most underrated Star Wars movie in a way, because a lot of the focus on sequel discourse seems to be on Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, because those are the two most controversial. Even I think most of the sequel haters are just like, Force Awakens was bad, but it could have still gone in a good direction, and then The Last Jedi ruined it. That's probably what a lot of sequel haters say. But for me, I love this film with all my heart. I am probably going to put it at the back of A tier, just because I don't think it has the highs of the Clone Wars, but Force Awakens for me doesn't really have any lows, but it doesn't have the highest highs that some of the other stuff does. Oh boy, this is where I get in trouble. Up next, we got The Last Jedi. Now, if you didn't dislike my Force Awakens take, or if you didn't dislike the video after my Force Awakens take, you might now. The Last Jedi is maybe the Star Wars movie that means the most to me. I just love most of it. Yeah, Canto Bite was pretty bad, but pretty much every single scene with Rey, Kylo, and Luke is something I love. I love the portrayal of Luke in that movie. If you want to see why, you can go through my channel and look at the dozens and dozens of Last Jedi videos I've made. Just knocked my desk. But for me, man, I'm gonna put it in at the front of A tier. I can't move it. There we go. I can watch this movie over and over again. Again, probably a hot take, but yeah, I love this movie. And this is where my sequel shilling goes down a little bit. Up next, we got The Rise of Skywalker. The amount of money I would sacrifice if I had like a time machine, or if I had a genie, right? And I could say, what's one thing besides actual stuff that's important, like family, health, or whatever. If I had to choose something purely selfish, besides maybe all the money in the world, I would probably choose making Rise of Skywalker a good movie. Now, I don't think it's abysmal. I don't think it's a like travesty of a film. It does have some good elements to it. And for the most part, any scene that has Rey, I either tolerate or thoroughly enjoy. But man, it disappointed me on so many levels. So I'm probably going to put Rise of Skywalker in the front of C tier. It's close to the back of B tier, but it disappointed me a lot. I don't hate the film by any means. I don't really hate anything on here besides maybe the Book of Boba Fett, but it was a disappointment. So yeah, that is everything in the Star Wars franchise, all the movies and all the shows. It's probably a relatively unique list. You can tell I'm more of an OT fan than I am a prequel fan, if that makes sense. So these are my rankings. Anyways, let me know down below what your rankings are. I'll actually post a link to this tier list so you can make your own and share it with me. I'd love to know. And tell me how wrong I am for having The Last Jedi so high. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching another one of my videos. I got a lot of great content coming, especially a sequel video tomorrow. Don't forget to hit the Claude Squad, and I will see you guys next time.